Welcome to Drinking Bros, presented by GhostBed.com. Welcome to Drinkin' Bros podcast, kids. We got Ralph Sutton on the show. Legend, before we came on air, I told you had a better voice than I do. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty standard thing. I have a better voice than most.
You were also against the Holocaust, like before it was trendy.
Well, I've known it's not been real for a very long time. I've been very outspoken about it. There's the joke that people say a lot of people don't realize that Hitler was an artist, but then you add, and he also liked to paint. It's a very offensive joke for those that are.
Which is why I can't stop laughing, because I think your goal today is probably to get us canceled so we join your network.
Yeah, why not? Right?
You own Gas Digital, which it's super interesting because I feel like everybody who is either been canceled or on the verge of cancellation has gone over to your network. Was that intentional?
That's a great way to put it. No, I don't think so. You know what's funny is so my business partner is Louis J. Gomez, who's a comedian and a host of a couple of the podcasts on the network.
Yep.
And it happened very organically. My show, SDR show, was growing around the same time as his was, Real Ass Podcast. Legion of Skanks was on a different network. And we just kind of started talking about how the writing was on the wall that this was going to get harder and harder to make money, and also to have a platform to say whatever the fuck you want. And then on top of all that, at the time, I think we both had like 10,000 listeners. It wasn't like a crazy amount of listeners, but we couldn't believe that we couldn't make any money yet. And the line that Louis said is, if I was hosting an event where every week 10,000 people showed up, they would think I was Jesus. Like, that many people showing up every week. And that's what was happening. We couldn't make money. So I had a radio show that was on about 100 stations, like 95, 96 stations. Lots of small stations combined together, you can make a living. So the idea was, let's get a few podcasts like ours and see if we can make a living. And that's how it all started.
Yeah, and by the way, we do the same thing here. So at Tetherball Academy Media, D'Anthony, my partner here, we own that together. And we own about 15, 16 shows right now. And similar vibe where we try to give, shows to people that might not seem like they have... it's an underserved niche, I guess, is a better way to put it. We got a cop show called Failure to Stop and things like that. You guys go fucking hard on your network.
Oh, yeah. We do a lot of... Well, look, like the line that's been going around lately is that we're not, misogynists. We're not racist. We're just stuck in the 90s is really what it is. That we have a sensibility. I'm older than most of the people on the network. But, we could all come from a time where if it was funny, it was funny. And that was it. And so... I don't like the idea of free speech or saying, oh, we're this and we're that. We just want you to enjoy yourself. Do your show. Enjoy yourself. We're not fucking hurting anybody. We're not going out to offend anybody. We just want to enjoy ourselves. And whatever happens, happens. I will never tell a show on my network who they can or can't book. I will never get them in trouble for doing something or saying something. The whole idea is just enjoy yourself.
Is there any way you could get Aaron Berg to stop working out so much? Because it's getting really irritating.
Yeah, and I'm tired of seeing the posts.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with Aaron is if he was a normal human height, he would be very intimidating. But he's 5'2".
Yeah, we had him in the studio. We had he was sitting on a couple of phone books, I think.
Yeah, very small, very tiny in stature.
Actually, I do think he sat in the middle and cranked his seat all the way up.
He did, yeah. I said dwarf-like is what I called it.
Well,
yeah, he is the world's most badass ventriloquist dummy. That's what he is.
Right before we came on, you were talking about putting a gun up another man's asshole.
I didn't do it personally, but it was on Legion of Skanks. There was some bet that Big J, who's the co-host of SDR, lost. And I really believe sometimes when you hear these bets, just like on Jackass, sometimes the contest or the thing they were doing is like, dude, maybe you just want something up your ass. Maybe you're just using this as an excuse to do that. And for some reason, every event that Jay comes up with an idea, it usually involves something going up his ass. So this was, I forget what he lost, but Louis got to shove an actual gun up his ass.
Oof. What kind of gun?
Was it loaded?
I wasn't there that night, but I don't think it was loaded either, but it was an actual working pistol to my knowledge.
Because that's part of it. Like, if it's a loaded gun that's going in your asshole and there's the slightest chance that it might go off inside your asshole, I think that's part of the the kink, right? Where you're just like, all right, I can't get off unless there's a loaded gun in my ass that might go off.
Yeah, has he gone full? Russell Brand got to a point in his sexcapades where he couldn't
wheelchair porn.
Yeah, he couldn't get erect unless somebody was getting their dick run over by a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Big J's been on the road for a long time, like 30 years. So.
Yeah, he's that guy's. You guys have seen it all. I feel like, right?
Yeah.
At this point, is there anything shocking to you?
Well, it's funny is that on SDR, we used to do this thing called Up the Ante when we first started the show. So like when a hot girl came in, we would say, look, these are the things that happened already. A girl showed her breasts, a girl showed her vagina, a girl showed us her asshole, whatever the fuck it was. So you can't do any of those things. You have to do one more, right? And then by the time, I think the first year in, girls had already peed in our mouths. You're running out of options. We did a game once where we saw what was it? We called it Blow a Yoki, where Jay and I had to sing a duet. I think it was You Don't Send Me Flowers, while we were both getting blowjobs to see who lasted longer during the song. We do a lot of stupid shit, We hired a $200 escort and a $1,000 escort to see if you could tell which one was the better blowjob when your eyes are closed.
Right.
We do a lot of dumb shit like that. So it gets to a point where you are running out of options. Last week on the show, a girl sat on a cake and they had to eat cake out of her ass. So it gets to a point where you're like, all right, what the fuck? I'm 52 years old. What am I doing?
Yeah, I feel the same. We had two strangers who had never met before have sex live on air for episode 100. And then we put chairs around the bed, and then we did the whole thing like a UFC fight.
I like that idea a lot. I like that.
Unfortunately, Joe Rogan didn't show up.
No, he didn't. He wasn't there to announce.
We invited him.
He wasn't there to announce that night.
No. Bruce Buffer used to been on the network. Would have been cool, but he's got him in there to call the opening of that.
Yeah. We love Bruce Buffer. John Anik
fans.
is one of our really good buddies, so he's got a lot of good stories about that man.
Yeah. Have you heard his life story? Has he ever told it to you?
Yeah, I mean, he was on the network for about the first year or two of the network, and then he got offered some huge deal on another network. But so I was somewhat friendly with him for a while. We still text once in a while. But yeah, that story with him and the way he grew up and finding out about his his brother, I just saw I think they're doing some sort of documentary on it somewhere. I think I saw that somewhere.
Yeah, because I caught, I forget what podcast he was telling the story on. I caught it. It was, recommended on YouTube or whatever. And I was like, holy shit. To find out that way that your brother is Michael Buffer, like after all these years, and it's just a throwaway.
End up in the same line of work. I mean, that's a very specific line of work. It's not like they're both engineers.
Yeah, it's crazy. And they made millions because they copyrighted the term or trademarked the term. Let's get ready to rumble.
And
most of their money came from suing other people for using it. They made a fortune from that.
Tons.
Good for them.
Tons. Yeah, I know
that's the way to do it, man.
The guys on whenever I see Cuban on Shark Tank, he's always pissed off at the people who file these fucking weird trademarks. The most angry I ever saw him was somebody trademarked a hole inside of the jacket where you put a cord like this, like the one I'm holding up from the earphones.
For headphones?
Yes. So that's just that hole in a jacket, any type of hoodie. If you put that in there, he's able to sue you because he's made a trademark for that one.
I love it.
Specific fucking hole in a jacket.
As a Jew, I appreciate it. It makes me happy.
Now, do you think having Bruce and Michael Buffer come from the same penis, does that make his dad and not Nancy Reagan the throat goat?
I would say so, yeah, because those are the two best voices there is, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's in the history of announcing anything. Those are the two most famous dudes that have ever done it, I think.
I used to I'm older. There used to be a guy who's a short little wrestling fighter guy, a referee who would say, let's get it on. Goes, let's get it on.
That was John.
Yeah.
That was Big John.
Big John, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he went.
I like that one.
He's got a fucking podcast now, I think.
Does he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it feels like everybody does these days. How many shows are on your network currently?
22 shows right now. We just the three newest shows. There's an MMA show while on top of called Yo MMA Raps with Lewis and Dave Smith, and then there's the big one. Zach Wilde from Ozzy Osbourne's band started a podcast called the Wild Goose Podcast because his bass player's nickname is Goose, so Wild and Goose.
Right?
Yeah, and then who we just talked about earlier, Aaron Berg, is the three newest shows on the network.
Nice. Yeah, Zach was on our show, 2 months ago, I think?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
Really good dude and crazy fucking stories, obviously, being a guitarist.
Oh,
for
yeah.
Ozzy
I
Osbourne.
could listen to him for hours. I've known him indirectly for like 20 years. So, I could listen to him tell stories all the time. Just a guy that he's like the Forrest Gump of metal in a way. You know, he just kind of was passing through life and keeps running into different idiotically famous people. It's a great story.
It's wild, isn't it? Whenever you see something like that, you're like, Jesus Christ, dude, how are you still alive? Because that's what I asked him when I was on the show. I was like, how the fuck are you still alive? And he's like, man, at one point you got to shut down the engines, you know? You can't.
Yeah, I give a lot of it to Barbara Ann. I really do. I think Barbara Ann reeled him in and kept him together.
Well, he said about like 10 years ago, maybe, he had some issue. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the fact that he had been a drunk piece of shit his whole life kind of saved him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
can't remember. He told the story. I can't remember exactly what it was, but that dude's lived quite a life.
Have you been married, by the way?
Never married. I've had, which is hilarious, 3 women asked me to marry them, but I've never been married, no kids.
No desire at all? Because that's the only way you can get away with shit like this, right?
At 52, the realism is that I'm probably not going to get married. I just have to be realistic, you know, that I'm probably not. I'm not against it. I always thought if you would, even like when STR first started, Jay used to make fun of me to think I was batshit crazy, that I thought I'd still get married and maybe have a kid. But at this point, I just have to be realistic that it's probably not going to happen. It may happen. I'm not against it. I would love to be in love, but it just hasn't happened. What are you going to do? Plus, I can always tell when I'm dating a girl and she starts listening to the SDR show because her attitude immediately changes. Like, I know, okay, this is the cat's out of the bag. We're done. It's not going to last much longer. I
think a guy like you almost has, if you are going to get married, almost has to, it's got to be a fan of the show who's just like, look, I know what you do for a living. You're disgusting. You're a sick fuck. And I'm in on that. And that's,
you sound like my mother, by the way. Continue.
Yeah. So I think you almost have to marry a listener at this point, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? You know, to me, it's just, because I'm slightly a pedophile. I like women in their 20s, you know. So
sure.
At 52, dating women in your 20s, realistically, are they going to marry me? No, they're not going to marry me. You know, so it is what it is. You know, I had to make peace with it at this point. You never know. I don't say no to anything. I don't ever talk in absolutes. But let's hope. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, and because the fucked up thing is this: like, you date somebody in their 20s and you're 52. After you're done boning, what do you talk about? Because there's such a gap in music, movies, life. And I feel like every single thing in a conversation, you're just like, oh, yeah. Remember that one movie, Beautiful Girls? And you're like, no, because I wasn't born yet.
Yeah, well, I will disagree, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I had an experience. I was dating this girl a couple years ago. She was young. She was like 24, 25, right? So I was probably 45 at the time. So it's like 7 years ago. And she was obsessed with American culture. I met her in Serbia. I was in Serbia. We met, and she watched every one of the top 500 movies of all time in America. She was obsessed with 80s and 90s sitcoms, and she loved classic rock. So I could talk to her about anything.
Oh,
it was like,
shit.
And it was great, you know, but it just didn't work out. We dated for a while, but she lived in fucking Serbia. So what am I going to do? You know, just we did date for a while.
Okay. Oh, I mean, look, the Serbs are hot too. Was that a male?
Yeah, she was
like,
hot.
Yeah, was
no, she was really. I think I told you right before the air. I have a twin brother. He's 5'7". I'm 6'5". We don't look anything alike. But for about 10 years, we would take 3 weeks off and go travel the world together. Go see 3 or 4 countries together that we've never seen, and we'd go meet people. And that's why I met her on one of those trips. She was the concierge at the hotel I was staying in.
Which side of the Slobodan Milosevic debate was she on?
That's a good question. I'll have to DM her on Instagram and see what she says.
It's either pro or against, I think.
Yeah, I'll find out.
That would be great to just DM her out of the blue, especially if you haven't talked to her in years, and be like, "Hey,
remember Slobodan?
Slobo, dude?"
Yeah, it's funny. I'm currently dating an Australian girl. She's out. When she comes back, I can ask her too. See what she says.
Was she allowed out of the country?
She just got out. She was stuck for 2 years. She just got out.
Fuck, dude. Well, how bad was it? Did you ask her, like, is the hype real with the news and everything?
It wasn't that bad there. They just locked down everybody. But technically, it's my longest relationship because she was away for 2 years. But now that she's back, it's probably not going to last much longer.
No, not at all. Not at all.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, nothing you can fucking do about that, you know? Go over there, punch a kangaroo in the face, throw a boomerang, get the fuck out of the country.
Yeah.
It's too far for me. At 6'5", a fucking 16-hour flight. I'm not doing it. I just can't do it.
It's too much. It's too much.
Too much. It's too much.
I would rather be in like one of those really large dog crates in the belly of the plane.
Yeah.
Than sitting next to some fat retard.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
Well, I mean, goddamn.
Wow, I'm standing right here. You don't have to call me that.
We were flying to St. Louis this weekend, my lady and I, and I saw that. So all the Southwest people were like, "Hey, this is pretty much an empty flight, so spread out, do what you want."
Yeah.
And there's two dudes sitting next to us, one in the aisle, one in the window, and some fucking piece of shit. It wasn't a large man or anything. He was probably 5'9" or something like that. But he came and it's like the fourth row back, and he just sat in the middle between them. I'm like, you motherfucker. And then like 15 minutes into the flight, he gets up and has to go pee. So the guy in the aisle seat has to get up. Like, what a piece of shit, man. Why? So you could get off the plane 12 seconds sooner?
Yeah, that's great.
I had a similar experience coming down, but they said they made me sit in my seat until the plane took off. So I looked like an asshole because I sat in the middle between two people. But because the flight attendant said, "Look, you just have to do it for the takeoff, then go sit anywhere." But I felt like an asshole in the beginning because I would even explain. I just sat there on an 80% empty flight, and then once it was done, I took off. I got up and got out of the seat.
I did it once to be an asshole at a movie theater, but like, just a ha-ha funny moment. I went to see this independent film. There was two people in there, and I was with a date, and we sat down right next to them. And they were like, "What the fuck, bro?" And I'm like, "I'm just kidding."
I feel like if you're super tall or fat or anything like that, you should at least show up early so people can work around that. Like
As someone who's both, I can tell you every time I sit down, the guy because I'm almost 6'6", I'm a big dude, and every time I sit down, the guy behind me, no matter where, they just go I'm pissed off that
So I saw Jordan Peterson here about I don't know.
Month ago?
2 or 3 weeks ago or something like that. And the two seats in front of us were empty up until 5 seconds before the goddamn thing started. And all of a sudden, Big Bird sits down in front of me.
The
Like,
worst.
what the fuck, man? Then I had to readjust I had all my shit laid out and positioned, and I was in a comfortable spot where I could see the fucking stage.
Yeah.
And now I've got to go back through all that shit with this asshole in front of me. Look, we need to have a cutoff.
Yeah,
6'2" is it.
I'm going to say, Ralph, I'm with you because I'm 6'3.5", kissing 6'4". A lot of people like to say, and I know
by a lot of people. Do you mean just you?
Yeah,
It's mostly
it's definitely just me. It's mostly me. But I know that I have pissed off everybody at a concert or a movie. Whenever I sit down, like it's going to fuck up somebody's night for the rest of the night, and I feel bad about it. But
I think you should just wear a sombrero with chips and salsa in it. Right? That way there's a utility to you being right there.
I tend to be overly cautious about it. Like, that's why I don't hit on women in public because I look like, oh, look at this monster coming to swallow me. But I tend to always, like, if I go to a concert, I will stay in the back. I don't want to get in the front because I know I'm going to fuck up other people's day. So I just stayed. I don't rush the stage. Never went to the stage because I knew I'd just be in someone's fucking way.
Yeah, and I'm a diehard Stones fan, and I took my wife to see for our anniversary a couple years ago. We went. It was a show in New Orleans, and I'll never forget it. You're in the pit area, so it's all like standing room only, anyways. And I'm such a fan that I wanted to be close. And I looked behind me, maybe 2 or 3 songs in, and there's just no one behind me on this side of the pit because they're like, "Fuck this dude, he's too tall. I don't want to be behind that the entire show." But that's the only time I'll do it. Usually I'm with you. Like, I'll go and stand towards the back or whatever it is. And then if I'm not in first class, it's a goddamn nightmare as far as flying goes. If you put that seat back 1 inch in coach, my knees will be injected into my rib cage, and I'm like, "Fuck you guys."
That's how I get upgraded all the time. Is you wait till a half hour before the flight, and I say, "Look, I'm almost 6'6". Not only am I going to be miserable, the person in front of me is going to be miserable. So you're pissing 2 people off. So almost always they just upgrade me to Comfort or Comfort Plus. But it's funny is as I've gotten older too, it's harder to even get in and out of a Uber. Like, you take a Toyota Camry or whatever. And this is right before the pandemic, so 2.5 years ago maybe, I was potentially going to have a threesome with these 2 gorgeous girls, right? We went to dinner, and we get in the Uber to go back towards my house. We're going to drink in the area, like a bar in my area. And when I got in, I pulled a muscle in my back because I was forcing myself into this fucking Toyota Camry. And I didn't want to say anything like, "Oh, man, like I just hurt myself. I could barely move." So I tried to play it off like a good guy. It's like, "You know what, girls? Why don't you just go have a good night together? We'll catch up with each other maybe one other day this week." And they're like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, just go have fun. It's your second night in town, blah, blah, blah." I never heard from them again, and I couldn't move for 3 days, so I really fucked myself.
Any shot that you weren't just going to pop a Viking in and let them...
The the unfortunate, like this, the timing of everything just did not work out. Where I just I know this is going to be a bad one, so I just called it. It sucks.
God damn, I mean, it's Valentine's Day today too, and hearing a story like that breaks my heart. If a threesome is on the line, you pretty much try everything to complete it because the hardest
they were both
thing,
pretty fucking hot too.
And
They're both pretty fucking
the
hot.
hardest thing is actually getting that fucking car moving. Like talking him into it,
Right.
and it's like. Because there's so much anticipation and nerves that go into it.
But it wasn't like we already high-fived and said, all right, we're all fucking tonight. So it wasn't like it was definitely happening. I just felt like it was moving in that direction, So what I guess we'll never find out because I never spoke to them again. But
that sucks.
You just got to suck it up and move on. What are you going to
do? The saddest things in my life when I hear stories like this of a broken threesome, I hate when porn stars die and supermodels. Whenever a supermodel passes away, I get really fucking sad about it.
Is it only the Superman model dudes or the girls too?
It's the girls. It's the girls.
Okay.
Like the dudes, it's like, all right, cool. Just like there'll be another one. You know what I'm saying? But
are there supermodel dudes?
I think
there's one or two.
There's a couple.
Who?
It's funny. One of my friends was dating this guy. He was one of the best looking guys on the planet. You could look him up. His name's David Gandy.
David Gandy. Pull up David Gandy. Let's see a picture.
He's older now, but he was so good looking that I hated going out with them because she was gorgeous. She was a famous actress. Her name is Jennifer Esposito. She used to be pretty famous.
Oh, dude, she's real hot. She was married to Bradley Cooper.
Married to Bradley Cooper. She's one of my best friends. And for a while, she was David Gandy. And I was like, I can't go out with you two because all they're going to be saying is, who's that fucking goofy-looking idiot with those two supermodels? And I just would not be around them because they were too good-looking.
I understand that. You can't have any friends that are better looking than you. Pop him up on screen here for the audience. Let's see what this guy looks like.
He was great looking. Yeah, he's older now, but he's ridiculous.
Look at this fucking guy.
He was like, it was either Gucci or one of these, but he was like the quintessential male model for a long time.
I'm looking at it now. Does he have a hog on him too? Because you always
and an English accent and likable and a nice guy. It was like, fuck you, dude.
That's too much.
Let's kill this prick.
It's too much. Yeah. It's too much. It's like Tom Brady. Like that, he doesn't deserve to be that good looking and be that great.
Yeah. Well, I get a kick out of it. Whenever I see anybody like a Chris Hemsworth, idiotically good looking and super likable and talented, it's like, God, imagine what that life is like when I got to deal with this. It's like, it's not easy.
Yeah. But you've done fine.
That's fine.
You talk about on your show. I mean, you get laid all the time. You're good to go.
Yeah, but I have to use trickery and like mind games and trying to be like, hey, come have sushi with me, and hey, let me fly you here, where he just has to show up. Yeah, it's a very different energy.
Yeah, but I feel like we're apex predators as human beings, and he probably is miserable because he doesn't have to work hard.
I don't think he's miserable.
The people who don't in life who don't have to work for the shit they have are often completely miserable.
Yeah.
Well, I would say he probably worked for the movie fame. I think that there in that world, he's a dime a dozen, a great looking guy in the movie world.
Yeah.
That they all are. But, probably getting laid growing up, he didn't have to work hard for.
No, not at all.
People in America are having to work harder and harder for it. So actually they're not they're choosing not to, I believe. We're at this point in American history, fewer people are married or in relationships and they're having sex less than ever before.
Yeah.
Very bizarre. I think it's these weird ass zennial fucking asexual people.
Yeah, we talked about this the other day. Not to interrupt you here.
That's right.
We talked about it on the show the other day where kids like in high school just aren't fucking anymore because it's just not cool. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. What's your thoughts on it?
I don't think it's real. That's my answer. I don't think it's real. I understand that marriage at this point to me is only for the. While I get the idea of being with someone you love, I think marriage is for the tax break. That's what you do in the marriage for. It's an archaic ideology. You take my name, you're my possession. It's kind of a it's a holdover from a different time. And I do think with the not getting laid, I think they're lying. I think everybody's still fucking as much, if not more, because it's so much fucking easier now. The only difference is that they know better than to open their mouths. That's what I think it is.
Maybe.
Yeah, because look, Dan and I are in relationships. I'm married. I've been married for a long time at this point. I was married before like Tinder and all that shit got hot. Are you doing it?
Again, as you get, and I can tell I'm dwelling on a couple things, but because I'm older, and I don't do well with as not a particularly good-looking dude. I do better on Instagram, meeting girls on Instagram, because A, I have a verified fucking blue check. For some reason, that means something. And B, I can be a little more, it's less like, hey, I'm trying to fuck you. It's, oh, I'm just some dude on Instagram that's hitting on you, right? And then the funny one, which I used to get a lot of shit on this, it doesn't work anymore because of the pandemic. But pre-pandemic, if you search the hashtag New York City, when living in New York City, I would see all these hot fucking girls whose first time was being in New York City. And I would just DM them saying, by the way, I'm a great New York tour guide. And the amount of times that worked is crazy, because these hot girls are coming to New York that don't know anybody. And here's this dude saying, I'll show you all the great spots. I met a fucking dozen girls that way. It's crazy.
That's amazing. And weren't you in nightclub promotions in New York for a while?
Yeah, when I was a kid, when I was like, I started out in nightclub promotions, like actually cool, hip nightclubs, then got into rock and roll nightclubs, then was a strip club DJ for a very long time, worked in restaurants for a long time, went to cooking school, then started my radio show that ended up getting syndicated, and then did a podcast.
Can we hear your
people ask me that all the time.
Voice?
Yeah,
it's
we got to hear the strip club DJ voice. And can you bring Chandelier to the stage?
Chandelier. It's funny. We did Adam Carolla like 6 months ago, and that was his first question was, for God's sakes, please do the DJ voice. You know? Although I would say that I never really put on a shticky voice. I just had like my catchphrases and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it would be like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, right now, coming to the main stage, you know her as a lion tamer from Hollywood, California. Grab a gorgeous girl by the garter, get it going on tableside. Right now, it is Chandelier on the Palestine stage. That kind of shit. You know, I would say things like, you could take a gorgeous girl out to dinner right now, and you know she won't say no because there's restaurants in the building. You know, I would shame people into spending money. And every time I worked, the club would make 30% more than when any other DJ worked.
That's amazing. Were you like having, live that life? Did you feel bad about the women, or was it a fun gig? Because we had a buddy who did it for 20 years in Nashville. He was a strip club DJ in Nashville, and he, by the end of it, was just like, dude, I can't look at porn. I can't look at, like, I've seen everything you could possibly see.
Well, it started out differently. So when I talk about like 1993. So was that 30 years ago now? Is that right? Is my math right? Is that 30 years ago almost?
Yeah, 29.
So back then, there was no fucking in strip clubs. There was not even the idea of it. The VIP room was just behind a rope, right? And it was such there was so much eyes from cops and everything that they thought things were going on in strip clubs. When girls came to work, they had to tell them how they were getting home at night. My boyfriend's picking me up, I'm taking a cab or whatever. And even the doorman's job was to write down the license plate if they took a cab home. Like, it was really strict.
Holy shit.
Because they did not want, there was too many eyes on them. They didn't want prostitution going on because they would get shut down. Over the years, it got looser and looser and looser. And that as that happened, the money got less and less and less, because the illusion is what made money. When you're fucking, if you could fuck a girl, you'd on to the next girl the next time. It was the illusion that made money. So in the beginning of it, I would consider a bad night $1,000 a night. As a kid, I was 23, 24, making $1,000 a night in cash for fucking saying stupid shit on a microphone was insane, and getting spoon-fed vagina every fucking night. It was crazy, you know? But as you get older and the rules change and the money went down and blah, 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 it got crazy fucking depressing. And being surrounded, nobody decides I want to work in strip clubs. Nobody wants, except maybe the DJ or the bouncer, because they want to be around hot girls. But the managers, the dancers, the house moms, none of them, this was their first decision in life. So you are being surrounded by misery. Mm-hmm. And not only the girls, but most men, if you are really fucking happy, you're not going to a strip club. So you're just surrounded by a lot of drinking, drugs, and misery, and that fucking weighs you down. And it was very hard to deal with, especially being up till 5 a.m. every fucking night. I ended up just doing it a lot longer than I wanted to, but I did one night a week because I was making at the time $500-$600 cash for one night a week, and it allowed me to start radio because I could make more money that night than I'd make a month in radio when I first started.
Wow, that's crazy. Do you feel like it helped you at all?
I think it got me. Well, my whole life, I worked as the guy on the microphone, right? So when we were working nightclubs or rock clubs, I would introduce the band or introduce whatever had to be said on the mic. So it was a very logical next step. Strip clubs was never a thing for me. I've been on stage in front of 50, 60,000 people. It never bothered me. That part never bothered me. But it did. There's very different cadence and tone and the way you speak, whether you're on a podcast, a radio show, hosting a gig, being a DJ on a strip club mic, or being a DJ on radio, like all of them have their own unique nuance to them that you just have to learn. It took me forever to allow myself to expand on stories doing podcasts, because for 18 years in radio, you had 2 minutes to make your point.
Yeah, and I would imagine coming out of a strip club, at least you have endless fucking stories.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of crazy shit happened in strip clubs.
What was the worst?
The story that I've told a lot that I think was just said, it was that I actually wrote a book that I got a deal to come out about my life in strip clubs. That was the year of the Super Bowl just happened. It was the Janet Jackson wardrobe malfunction year.
Yeah,
right?
2011.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, and right after that, there was a big swing to conservatism, rather. Mm-hmm. And so my Wild and Crazy Tales from Strip Clubs book got dumped. So we signed a deal, and then they reneged on the deal because they didn't want to put something out like that. But the story that sold the book was at the club in Jersey. I mean, I'm sure you guys are aware, there's a woman called a house mom who was in job as to be like the den mother in the back of the strip club, right? And she makes sure that everyone has their fucking shit and nobody steals shit or whatever. So one Russian girl that had been there for a while had accused a Spanish girl whose first day of stealing $300 from her.
I want to hear that. I want to hear that argument.
Yeah, it was great. It was $300 bills, right? And I walk into the dressing room, because that's your job when you first get there. You walk in, you make a list of all the girls that are working so you can figure out who's going up on stage and blah, 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 whatever. So I walk in, and it's just a crazy fucking argument. They're screaming. The house mom is trying to separate them. I know you took the money. I can't do a Russian accent, but I know you took the money in Russian. And the Spanish girl's like saying, fuck you, I didn't steal anything in Spanish. It was hilarious, right? So they check her bag. They check her fucking G-string. They check her locker. It's fucking nowhere. And then the house mom, who was a former stripper who is now like 60, says to the Spanish girl, I think I know where you have it. Spanish girl pulls down her G-string and says, go ahead and fucking check me. The house mom shoves her hand up the girl's vagina and pulls out $300.
No fucking way.
And
like
then the Russian girl,
out of a hat. I mean,
like
shit.
a rabbit out of a hat. And then the Russian girl just takes the money and puts it in her purse. Doesn't even try to wash it off. And I was like, well, I'm going to write the first fucking chapter of my book right now, because that's fucking ridiculous.
No fucking way, dude. That's amazing.
Oof.
So but $300 is $300. Like, if you've got to reach up inside somebody's pussy for it, like, I get it. You know, I understand where she's coming from. Man, we had Charlie Classic was our buddy who did, he was a strip club DJ for 20 years. And the stories he has are absolutely horrific. And I mean, he did it every single night for 20 years.
Yeah.
So
I didn't do drugs. I kind of like would go in, do my job, and get the fuck out of there. My only goal was to try and get laid, you know, and make money. I didn't party with the people afterwards. I didn't go out with them to parties afterwards. I didn't do any of that shit. So I think I was able to separate myself a little bit from the real underbelly negative shit of that world.
Did you fuck a lot of the strippers?
Yeah, a lot. Not to be an asshole, but yes, a lot.
Under 100.
Oh, over. I mean, Jay gets mad at me because he always thinks that. By the way, Jay tries to prove me wrong on my stories all the time because I have so many crazy stories. Like I DJ'd for the 9/11 terrorists. All right, it's just crazy stories like that. You know, that they came into my strip club the Saturday before the Tuesday. You know, and
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and then the FBI came and questioned us all. I mean, there's a lot of fucking crazy stories.
Do you guys think that you're in any way responsible for 9/11?
Yeah, because they didn't like my music. That's how they said, "I'll teach this fucking asshole." I know they were the guys that went to the Pentagon, not the guys that hit the.
I see.
So and also,
they
maybe that's why I kept them up too late. They were a little weary, and that's why they didn't make it. But one of them, when the girl asked, "What do you do for a living?" he said he was an airline pilot. And on the way out, he said to her, hey, which meant nothing at the time, stay out of New York next week. And then it meant nothing at the time, but 3 days later, you're like, holy shit, that's fucking crazy.
No way.
And over again, Jay tries to shit on me and say none of these stories are true. But time and time again, I've been able to prove, like I found the article, because not everything was digitized back then, but I found an article that said there was, the staff was questioned at a strip club in Wayne, New Jersey, about it, the ties to the terrorists, and there was only one strip club in Wayne, New Jersey at that time, and that was the one I worked at. You know, so the reason I'm telling you all this is that twice, which was filled with a couple of the strippers from the club, I had a fivesome, which was me and 5 girls twice, which is nuts because I'm not particularly good looking, but just being in the right place at the right time and make that happen. It was great.
Yeah.
I just want to circle back on you being responsible for 9/11.
Thank you, everybody. That was.
Where were you when the Challenger blew up? Were you working then too? Or
No, I think actually Adam Carolla took credit for that one on the show about 2 months ago.
He did, yeah.
Yeah, he said he worked at like the place that made the shielding or something. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
A lot of comedians murdering people.
I know.
Yeah.
All Louis C.K. did was jack off in front of a couple of folks.
That's it, you know? And they could have left.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if you're just jacking off in front of somebody, you can just leave if you want to.
Yeah. Don't get me started on that fucking shit. It's crazy. I love that. I just say that Louis was just awful at hitting on women. That's what he is guilty of.
That's it.
Being awkward nerd.
That's it. And homegirl who was on the phone too. That one always got me. Where it was like, just hang up the fucking phone.
The girl that just said she was raped on fucking in the metaverse.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, dude.
That's where we're headed though. Because you know, now they're building a safe space inside the metaverse. Have you heard about that?
No, I don't even want to hear about that. But if you can avoid getting raped by unplugging your device, I don't think you're going to get raped.
That's the fucked up thing. And it's a cartoon. So like, it's not really you. So just take off the fucking goggles and put them down. You can get out of the world.
I think there should be a safe space for people who want to rape and people who want to get raped. You just put them in the same chat room.
I'm sure that'll be a game one day.
Why not? I mean, it's probably a game. Well, it's Grand Theft Auto, really. But it'll probably be a VR game at some point. We're coming out with a VR game called Domestic Violence.
Yeah,
I like it. It's kind of like a reverse safe space, is what you're saying, right? Where everything goes.
Yes and no. I mean, I feel like if people get their frustration out in the digital world, then it won't pour over into their actual life.
Yeah.
I thought, by the way, I legitimately thought you were talking about in the real world. You wanted a place where you could just rape freely.
Oh. Well, no, that's jail.
That's jail. Yeah,
yeah, and you can go to jail. They'll fucking make you actually sometimes.
Yeah, especially for rape.
Yeah. I was getting. Oh, by the way, I was like, send me wherever you're going. That sounds like a great place for me for a weekend. I was ready to do it.
Unfortunately, the rape is mostly dudes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you gotta pick your battles.
Dan's been against rape though, again, before it was trendy. So I do want to say that because, a lot of people now are on that bandwagon of like, oh, rape is bad. Dan, you've always been on that train though.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, since way back in 2019.
After a series of incidents.
You were a rock DJ in the 80s, right?
Well, I was a rock DJ. So I was a nightclub rock and roll promoter guy. I did that in the 90s. Mm-hmm. But then I had a radio show called The Tour Bus, which started in 99 that went till 2016. And that was my main job in life. I was a rock radio DJ that had, we were on, I think at the height, it was like between 90 and 95 stations, something like that. And that's how I made my living, was just interviewing rock stars. It was a great being flown around different countries. I mean, there were different states in the country to host events and introduce bands, hosting the Shiprock music cruise and the Sturgis motorcycle rally. And I got to had a crazy, long run of getting to do that. It was wild.
Yeah, and I'm sure you got to see everything under the sun. I was watching that Pam and Tommy doc. It's on Hulu. It's not a doc, but it feels like it because the actors are so goddamn good. You're just like, holy shit. It really feels like you're watching their lives. It's nuts. Did you ever party with Motley Crue?
Yeah. So they invited me to their reunion, which happened when Vince Neil rejoined the band. I think I could be off on the air. I think it was 2003 or 4 when Vince got back in the band. They did a big show in California, in LA, and they flew me and a bunch of other people out to cover it. And that night I hung out with all of them. Yeah, there was a time where I was, friendly is a wrong word, but like the best way to describe it is if I saw one of them somewhere, they would say, "Hey, what's up, Ralph?" So I don't know if that's a friend, a casual acquaintance, but there was that night we all hung out and partied. And, but in general, I would say we were casual acquaintances. Like I went to, one of my friends got married now about 9 years ago in Vegas. And I was there with a bunch of people. I didn't know anybody but the bride and groom. It was like 40 of us or 30 of us. And Vince Neil was there with 2 girls and he's walking by and the whole wedding part's like, holy fuck, it's Vince Neil. We're in the Hard Rock Cafe. And he came up to me and goes, "Hey, what's up, Ralph?" And gave me a high five. So that means I'm friendly, but not friends. We're not hanging out, but I was friendly with them all.
How crazy were those stories? Like who was the one that blew your face off?
That's a good question. I mean, so I started with a lot of them a little bit later. So 99 forward, they were all a little older. Mm-hmm. The band that was still pulling the most hot chicks in that time is a smaller band, LA Guns. LA Guns would still always have, for whatever reason, crazy hot chicks out. But by the time that I was hanging out with them, they were all older. They were like my age. They were all like 10 years older than me. So they all were like my age now, where they weren't doing anything too crazy. I feel I missed out on the true decadent rock and roll backstage parties, to be honest with you.
Well,
you know,
also AIDS though.
Yeah.
So,
well, because I have it. Because I have AIDS. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I don't know, but
do you?
There was a lot of AIDS then.
If you're rich enough, you can beat AIDS.
No, I don't have AIDS. I don't
Okay.
have AIDS.
Even if you did, though, we wouldn't judge you because you have enough money to beat. You have enough money to beat it now.
How much money do you think I have?
Only poor people die of AIDS.
Yeah, only poor people die of AIDS. I think 7 figures at least. So like, you're fine on that.
I have 7 figures, but the first 6 are all zeros.
Yeah, the reason I asked, by the way, about Motley Crue, I did a fucking movie with Tommy Lee. And
what movie?
It was a movie called The New Guys way back in the day. But
I love that movie. Yeah, I just interviewed someone that wrote that movie. I forget who the guy from Reno 911 wrote that movie. The main guy that plays Junior on Reno 911, he wrote that movie.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, and I just had him on SDR 2 weeks ago. He's a very cool dude.
Yeah. I forget who the writer was on set. He was not cool. He was a dorkier guy. I wish it was him. That would have been rad. But I got to go to his house, party with him. He did not remember me next time we were out, and I felt like shit in front of a bunch of people. So.
Well, I think that happens a lot with these people. But in that movie, wasn't Josh Todd from Buck Cherry in there, and Henry Rollins was in that? A lot of rock stars were in the prison.
Yeah. There was
so
tons.
he's the villain.
I'm the bad guy. I'm the asshole.
The douchey frat dude.
So
cool.
He beats me up, takes my girlfriend, and then I beat him up. Blah blah blah.
That's funny.
But with that movie, there was so many rock stars in it. Dude, I've got a crazy one for you. Fucking the guy from Buck Cherry, the lead singer.
Josh Todd, good dude.
Yes, there was somebody that broke in. So we're out of Austin, Texas. And that movie was we shot that here. So we lived here for about 4 months. Downtown on the Omni, right off 6th Street. So it was just a fucking party every single night. And every day there was a different famous celebrity cameo. Like Vanilla Ice, Kool Moe Dee was in it, Jermaine Dupri. Henry Rollins would not shut the fuck. Like, if you got stuck in a conversation with Henry Rollins, it was so intense that it was just like, holy shit, dude, I can't do it. But
I could see that.
With the guy from Buck Cherry, he had an awesome story. So there was a fan that got a hold of everybody's numbers in the hotel, and she would just do fucked up sex noises and shit like that. And so every night he would jack off on the phone with this stranger, and he goes, dude, are you guys getting these calls? And I was like, yeah, I hung up. And he goes, man, I'm so into it now that I'm going back. He started going back to the hotel early and not partying because he was waiting for this fucking girl to call so he could jack off. But we never knew who it was. And I was like, how do you know it's not a dude?
Right. And did he never find out? Never found out.
Yeah, but that's the mystery of the glory hole, and the mystery is most of the allure, right? You don't know who's on the other side of that thing. You're hoping that Jesus is there for you, and he's making it work out. You know what I mean? It's called fucking faith, bitch.
Yeah. And I don't have it.
Clearly not. Yeah.
That story, by the way, carried over until I did this movie Range 15. And direct it and everything else. And so I'm in ADR, which is the final stage, before a movie goes out, you're kind of, doing voiceovers and Foley and all that stuff. And there was a guy who was raping a zombie in the movie. And
that sounds great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I don't know. It seemed, you're talking about Rocco?
Yeah.
That seemed consensual to me.
Well, she was a zombie. So is it ever consensual or?
I feel like if you have the ability to run away and you don't try, then it's consensual.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Well, wow, your standards are lower than mine in that sense.
Like animals. We're always talking about, because I was in the military, I've seen a lot of people fuck animals overseas. I don't know that the goats don't like it. Because there's no evidence to suggest. If I'm doing something to you, sex or otherwise, if I'm just standing too close to you, you will take some sort of action or your demeanor will change. These goats are getting plowed in the ass by dudes, and they're just sitting there taking it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that, to me, that is implied consent.
So you think they liked it?
I think they loved it.
Wow.
Did you stop? Let me ask you. Did you stop them overseas when you saw somebody fucking a goat? Did you let them finish?
Well, we didn't get involved, right? Because I don't want to deal with a fucking naked man that's had his dick inside. Like he's naked, hard dick, and he's got fucking donkey butthole juice on him. Mm-hmm. So that's not really the kind of person I want to interact with.
I realize I want to use your logic and go to like a paraplegic ward because none of them can go away.
Look, this is America, man.
Why para? Go full fucking quad.
Nobody's
quad.
Nobody's fucking the handicapped. You know what I mean?
No.
That's something I think we need to address. That's America's new national shame. We're over slavery now. Now it's about us not fucking handicapped people.
So are you also fine with fucking dead people since they can't run away?
That's to me
too stiff.
That's a victimless crime.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. The rest of that I was kind of joking about. With that, it's weird, but I mean, obviously, I don't want people to do that. But what exactly wrong is happening? You know, people do perverted sex shit all the time. What if it's a tree?
I think it's because you know about it. So if you didn't know about it, I think you'd be fine.
Yeah, I didn't care. So remember that dude who was running a crematorium or whatever the fuck, and
he was fucking all the people.
No. He was just throwing the bodies out in the fucking trash in the back.
Oh yeah.
There was like 300 of them back there. So I don't know what he was giving the families. But again, who gives a shit? The body is trash. What do people think is going to happen here? It's just like I'm very curious about this. Do religious people actually think that your physical body is going to be reanimated at some point? Because that's not going to happen.
Well, two people do. Walt Disney and Ted Williams. Yeah.
No, but that's not happening.
Yeah. By the way, to finish up that story, I needed somebody to do a female sex voice, and there wasn't any women in the ADR. So I remembered that story, and I was like, man, I wonder if a dude can do this. And sure enough, Matt Best raised his hand. And he goes, yeah, I can do it.
He does the porn girl voice pretty well. Yeah.
He goes, yeah, I can do a female getting fucked.
Yeah.
And so all of the sex scenes in that movie, it's actually a dude's voiceover for it.
Oh, wow.
And,
that's really cool. I like that story. Now it makes me re-question anytime I jerked off to a girl's voice in a porn movie.
100%. And that's what we wanted to do. Whereas like, hey, if you jacked off during that movie, congratulations. That was actually a dude's voice.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. You go.
There's a story. The voice of in the Guns N' Roses song "Rocket Queen." You hear a girl getting fucked in the guitar, breakdown in that, and that was Axl actually fucking the drummer's girlfriend and recording it, and then put it in the song, and that a lot of people say is what made him go a little crazy.
No way. That's a great story. Let me ask you this: what was with November Rain? I've got a debate. When she fucking died, what did she die of in that video?
Oh, I don't remember. That's a good question. It's been a while since I saw the video. I couldn't tell you.
Somebody popped it up. I saw it on Facebook the other day, and I was like, I'm going to play this. A lot of people said she got chopped in half because you're seeing like half her face, and the other half was a mirror. Somebody said she got electrocuted. All I remember is they jumped through a wedding cake for absolutely no reason whatsoever, just because it was raining. And I love shit like that. We don't have anybody doing shit like that anymore.
Wasn't all the videos of that record tied to each other? Like, didn't they somehow have a story that intertwined between 2 or 3 of the videos from fucking that Use Your Illusion? I thought they were.
I thought, but it never really made sense to me why the girl died or got chopped in half. And I don't know if it was because of the wedding and the rain at the thing. The other part about that video that I didn't remember is when Slash goes out to play in the desert in front of the church. It's clearly not the same church because that's a little tiny goddamn church, and there was like 500 people there. So
yeah, I'd have to go watch the video. I will tell you this, to go back full circle, a stripper that I used to date at the time was in one of those Guns N' Roses videos. I forget, there was one that was shot in the Limelight that I was a DJ at, and they ended up picking her to be in the video, and I forget which fucking song. It was one of the later singles.
Okay. Not one of the good ones. Was it Chinese Democracy?
Not one of the good ones. Okay. No. From Use Your Illusion.
All right.
From Use. It was during that era.
All right. Is it a badge of honor though if Axl Rose fucked your girl like before you?
Yeah, I don't know if we are actually wiener cousins. I don't know. She said she didn't fuck him, but I look, I'm still friends with her now 30 years later, whatever it is, and she still stands by that story. So I don't see why she would still be lying. But at the very least, we had similar tastes in women.
That's a long game right there. If you're gonna lie for 30 years, that's a real long game.
Well, I mean,
there's no reason.
Mary Jesus' mom has been doing it for 2,000 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So it's like, she's the world champ.
Was it just 2000? Was that what it was?
2022, I think.
Yeah, we know that. Okay, is that the AD? So it is after death.
It's
not after death.
It's Anno Domini, you fucking mongoloid. Jesus Christ.
I've always just said after death. Let's get it right, okay? Let's get it right. After Jesus died. And it was your people who were responsible for that. So.
Yeah, I still stand by it.
Some of our best work.
That's why Jews to this day are not good at like manual labor. Because like, look what they did to the last Jew that was good at manual labor. We're not going to do this shit.
That's a good point, actually.
Are you a hardcore Jew? Do you do like Orthodox shit or okay?
Absolutely nothing. Yeah, I always said I did have a bar mitzvah, and like a good Jew, I got out right after that. I got in for the money and got out.
Yeah, smart. Our CFO is Jewish, and he's one of those Orthodox Jews. And the reason why, like, because I figured it out with Orthodox Jews, why they're under so much pressure and stress all the time, is simply the fact that you only work 4 days and then you have to go to Sabbath and all that shit. So like when you can't answer the phone or use any form of electronics for a couple days, like that's fucked up.
What really bothers me about it is forget about just religion in general, but what really bothers me about the Judaism stuff like that is that so many people I know that are Orthodox have figured out ways around the system.
Oh yeah.
Like for instance, like lights that go on and off automatically, or a clapper or whatever the fuck, so they don't touch electronics, right? So like if you believe this is the word of God, do you really want him to be up in fucking space, where the fuck he is on a cloud somewhere, looking down at you saying, God damn it, I should have been more specific. Yeah. They figured out a way around it. It just makes no sense to me. Like if you're going to abide by the rules, just abide by the rules.
Yeah. But they figured it out, and I moved into a house that was Orthodox Jews, and like I couldn't figure out why all the lights turned on in the bathrooms, in and out. So like there is no clapper or anything else. Like it's just automatic. And
yeah, even there's elevators in hospitals that stop at every floor so they can avoid pushing a button.
Is that part of it? You can't push a button.
You can't push anything electronic. And in fact, in New York City, I forget which holiday it's for. It might be Sukkot or I forget which one. But there's like chicken wire around a whole neighborhood in New York City so that they could freely move around the neighborhood. It's like you're really stretching the fucking limits here. It's crazy.
That's fucking insane, dude.
Wow. It is insane. It's really weird.
When you got to figure out cheat codes for your own religion, that's
there was a big section in Religulous, Bill Maher's movie about religion, about that. There was some guy that was inventing new technology to subvert God, I guess. It's like, all right, cool, man. You made these rules, God? Well, you know what? Fuck you, buddy.
It's crazy that they'll do so much to get around the rules as opposed to just saying, well, maybe this document isn't 100% accurate. Maybe it's just stories.
Yeah.
I just feel bad they're never going to have a fucking cheeseburger in their life.
Oof.
Or pepperoni pizza. Like meat and cheese together, no go.
They could have a vegan cheeseburger. The funny thing is, though, that most of those rules, a friend of mine was a religious scholar, and we had a long talk about it. All those rules are really done for the logic and not for anything religious. Like meat and milk, a lot of Jews are lactose intolerant, and they would just say that's why you shouldn't do it. The reason why you're kosher. Why? Because cows have multiple uses. They could carry things. You use their skin. You drink their milk. Pigs don't. Pigs are they're just, you can't train them. So they said, all right, you know what? That's not fucking kosher. And then like shellfish and these other like bottom feeding fish require way too much more food to ratio to what you get out of it versus a salmon or a trout or whatever. So that's why they said, all right, those are not kosher. And it just really, that's what the reason behind it was. So they all have logical reasons behind it, but then we assign some mythological reason behind it.
Yeah, and we try to plan dinners without him because he's always asking what's kosher on the menu. And these fucking waiters don't know.
Not in Austin, Texas. Shit.
No, dude.
Right, the answer is always just fucking order vegetables. You'll be fine. Vegetables is your safe answer. If you're religious or just eat vegetables, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, we ended up having to go through a liquor menu last time. We were out with Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell's on our network. And, we're ordering booze and, everything else. And he's like, shit, well, I want to order something. So we asked the waiter what's kosher. And they came back with Evan Williams.
Evan Williams, well, no, Brittany found it on the internet, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Or maybe, I think it was her. It's
a port wine, right? It's a port wine, I think.
No, Evan Williams is like a fucking shitty.
It's a terrible whiskey.
Like mid to bottom shelf whiskey. Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
It used to be in a plastic jug.
And we're
that's
there,
how bad it was.
We're there having dinner at Vince Young Steakhouse with Chuck Liddell. And I'm like, dude, you're embarrassing us in front of our friends. Could you stop? You're like my old dad right now. What the fuck is wrong with you?
And
so also you think if you're fucking super religious, you'd go in knowing which ones you could have without asking.
Exactly. Like you would know. And he's like, dude, he's flipping through the things and he goes, I don't really drink that much either. But yeah, so he had really, beautiful steakhouse and he's drinking Evan Williams, which is super white trash. Like they had to dig that up. And if I'm a waiter at that point, I just pour anything in the glass that's brown just to piss them off and be like, fuck it.
Yeah, like he's going to know the difference between Evan Williams and something else.
Yeah.
He should just travel with a bottle of Manischewitz and avoid the whole fucking situation.
Exactly. And whenever people are a pain in the ass like that, their food or drink is going to be fucked up.
Oh, yeah, the waiter's just dragging his fucking bare nutsack across every fucking menu, everything on the menu.
Yeah.
Like our whole table probably had pubes on it.
I do really feel bad for the service industry now between peanut allergies, vegan, gluten-free, kosher. Like it used to be you just serve whatever the fuck you want. And now you got to go through a checklist before anything comes out. And then when it finally comes out, you got to wait for the fucking people to Instagram the shit. It's crazy.
Yeah, we have a new hard seltzer that launches this week. Hard AF seltzer. We're drinking it now. It's 8%. And we had to put gluten-free on the back of the can. They were like, dude, people really want that now. And I'm like, can it not just go without saying? Do we need to actually write gluten-free on the fucking can? And they were like, yeah, you do. Because there's such a huge segment of people who actually give a shit about gluten.
Well, there's a huge segment of people who care, but there aren't a lot of people who actually have celiac disease. It's like,
I agree.
It's like less than 1% of the population. And
it's
now
one out of every. Jennifer, the girl I brought up earlier, she has really bad celiac. And at the time, it was 1 out of every 150 people. So whatever that is, that's less than 1%.
Yeah, that's 75%. So
0.75. 0.75.
Yeah, 0.75%. So yeah, it's one of my old employees had it too. You could tell. Like if somebody's like, "Oh, I think I may have had some gluten." Like, bitch, if you had celiac disease, you would know. You would feel like you had the flu. And you would look like shit. Like you'd be sweating right now.
Yeah.
But there are people that are gluten intolerant that just feel like I am somewhat lactose intolerant. Like I'll still have ice cream and shit, and I'll just feel a little crappy. Yeah. Because I don't process it that well, but it's not going to hospitalize me.
Yeah, our other business partner's like that. Jared, he's one of the owners of Black Rebel Coffee. He's lactose intolerant, and he'll order like 2 double cheeseburgers and a fucking shake. And he consumes all of it in about 30 seconds, right? And his girlfriend's like, hey, did you just drink a shake? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you?
You're going to blow up your toilet the next day.
Yeah. Well, she had to ride back home with him for an hour and a half. So
God damn it, dude. That's awful.
Jay tells a story where he was with this girl that he didn't really want to be with. So he purposefully drank a big milkshake because he knew it would give him diarrhea and he could get out of fucking the girl. So he did that 2 nights in a row where he would just purposely had the shake and then got, oh man, I'm sorry, I don't feel good.
Dude, just carry some Epicac on you or something. Remember that stuff?
Yeah.
Came in a little fucking tube, you just throw it down and
immediately
vomit. That was the Family Guy episode where they all saw who would vomit first.
Yeah. We had a buddy of ours who was lactose intolerant, and we were doing this gig in New Orleans, and at the end of it, all he wanted was like a large pizza for the last day. And I was like, but you're lactose intolerant. How's that going to go? And he goes, oh, it's going to be a goddamn nightmare in my bathroom, like all day long. But he said, once every 6 months, he saves it up and eats exactly what he wants, and just knowing he's going to shit his brains out for 4 to 5 hours.
My mom was crazy allergic to lobster, and she loved lobster. But once a year, she'd say, fuck it, I'm going to make sure I have nothing to do the next day and just eat the lobster. But after about doing that for 15 years, she became no longer allergic to lobster. Her body got used to it.
Yeah, that's what you have to do.
It's funny you say that because the same, when schools in the late 90s started paying attention to peanut allergies and everybody got super weird about it, the level or the percentage of kids who were allergic to peanuts skyrocketed because they were no longer being exposed. Like people had a small allergy to it, maybe that had no physiological symptoms, and because they ate peanuts and peanut butter over time, it would just go away. Yeah. Now it's just getting worse, and that is my anti-mask argument.
Well, that's the truth is for everything. I mean, you even see like there's certain foods we as Americans could not eat in other countries because we don't have the antibodies for it. But if you built up a resistance over time, you can. The problem is that there are people that it will kill. So you got to figure out that delicate balance.
Yeah, my girlfriend's been slowly poisoning me with different types of poison. At first I thought it was to kill me, but I think she's just trying to help me build a tolerance.
I think that was a scene in Princess Bride, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah, you got to build it up. We did it with our youngest, our second child. We thought he was lactose intolerant, and my wife just kept feeding him cheese and milk and all that other stuff. And she was like, dude, that's a miserable life. We're going to help him beat this at a young age. And the kid doesn't shit his brains out anymore. So
that's why I firmly believe you need women to be built up to a rape tolerance and just get used to it. You know,
that's the clip. We're going to name this episode Rape Tolerance.
And then we will be on Gas Digital next year. Subscribe. It's behind a paywall. Now's the point in the show we get to the Drinkin' Bro of the Week, which is someone who's inspired you or helped you become the person you are today. Who would you like to give the Drinkin' Bro of the Week to, Ralph?
Wow, that is a good fucking question. It's going to be a weird one. Let me think. I have a couple people I would say. The Drinking Bro of the Week, the guy that inspired me to do what I do. I hate it. It sounds hacky, for God's sakes, but it is the reason why I got into radio.
Is it Stern?
It is fucking Howard Stern. Yeah, it is.
I
hate it. I hate it that I'm saying it, but the truth is, that is what got me into radio. I really do know that when I first heard that is what made me want to do radio. And it's like every rock band I've ever interviewed, 90% of them, Kiss inspired them.
Yeah.
Kiss was the reason they got into it. And that's what got me the desire to do radio. So that is what it is. What can I tell you?
And he's still doing it to this day.
Well, he's doing it from like a fucking secure bunker somewhere, though.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, so I grew up a huge Stern fan as well. And since you brought him up, let me ask you, are you a fan of all the shit that he's doing now and the way that he's changed? Because I'm not anymore. And to me, it's just...
I'll be honest with you. I haven't listened to him in years. Okay. And it's not like a dig. I just don't pay for Sirius XM. Don't care. Don't listen. I do feel that, I don't know how old he is, but I think he's close to 70, if I'm not mistaken.
68, I believe. Yeah.
Right. So your sensibility changes. You know, I mean, I'm not upset about it, but you can't be mad at Grandpa Stern because that's what he is. You know, he's 70 something years old. I'm sure 30-year-old Stern would hate 70-year-old Stern. I'm not breaking any news stories by saying that. So you're allowed to morph into something as you get older and you're a grandfather. I don't have to agree with everything. I remember the first time I was on Fox News once, and it was talking about the difference between podcasting and radio, because at the time I was doing both. And this was like probably 7 years ago. And I remember thinking, wow, this is the first time I can think of where I 100% vehemently disagree with Howard, because he thought podcasting was for losers, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And I just felt he was, becoming somewhat of a archetype of a guy out of touch.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what's happened. But how could it not? I just think we're all going to be there someday when we're in our 70s. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a natural state of it.
You don't want to be 80 years old wearing like an Ed Hardy shirt trying to be cool still.
Right. Exactly.
It's better for him to become a curmudgeon. Like, but he should be a hater instead of being like this safetyism stuff is weird.
Yeah.
I haven't been following it at all. I really haven't been following. Although I just interviewed Tommy Chong of Cheech and Chong, and he's 81, and he could not have been any fucking cooler and more like just doesn't give a fuck.
Well, there is a way to keep your sensibility.
Yeah, it's weed.
Yeah. I mean, look, and you can do it with Stern. The COVID thing is where he took a turn. So I don't know if you know this since you haven't listened in a while, but and I'll just pop on for, you know, if somebody big is on like Paul McCartney or something like that, just because I want to hear. He's still one of the very best celebrity interviewers there is, in my opinion. Stern, but the rest of his shit is, he doesn't do anything crazy anymore. So he's in his basement in the Hamptons, okay? Which is a very rich thing to do, and obviously he's very rich. But he makes his guests go into the studio in New York. So
that's funny.
He's really interviewing them via Zoom. They're in his studio downtown because he's so afraid of COVID and everything else that's going on. And he's doing all the shows from his basement in the Hamptons. And he's now negotiated that new Sirius XM deal, which I believe was $100 million for 5 years again, is what he got per year for 5 years, is only 200 days. So he's only doing 200 days, and then the rest that he's off, and they're just going to play reruns of the back catalog and shit like that. I want to go out on top of where I think, all right, great. This is exactly where I feel like at least, close to where I started, and then just leave and disappear and never fucking pop up again. Do you have any of that as well, do you have an age in mind where you're like, I don't know if I'll be cool telling these stories anymore?
We all, first of all, at 52, I'm probably not cool telling these stories. Let's be honest, right? I mean, me dating a 25-year-old is more yuck than it is wow. Calling... Very honest with that. But I think that it's very easy to take that stance until someone offers you $5 million a show going forward. You know what I mean? Which is what he was offered, right?
Yeah.
So just like at the time, I almost in my life never cheated on a girl. right? One time that I did was when I was at working at a strip club, and 2 girls came into the studio, into the DJ booth, and offered to go home with me, and I fooled around with them, right? And then I felt horrible about it. And a few of my friends at the time were like, oh my God, how could you cheat on a girl? Like the guys that were married that I knew, you know?
Yep.
I was like, you don't know how you're going to fucking react until you're in a situation. So I hate ever taking any sort of stance on anything that I haven't personally been in. Let's see what happens when someone offers you $5 million a show. How fucking sure you are of yourself that you're going to walk away. You know, so I don't know. Right now, to me, as long as I still enjoy doing something, why the fuck would I stop?
Yeah, it's a tough one because I want to get out before I become Stern, where like that, he's now the person that I used to make fun of, and I never would have thought that in a million years.
But I mean, I think about my sensibility to 18, 19, 20. A lot of those things I wouldn't do anymore either. I used to firmly believe there was no road too far to travel to get laid. That was my theory. I'd drive 3 or 4 hours if it meant I was going to get laid. Now, if the girl's not coming to my house, I'm not fucking doing it. So your sensibilities change. You know, I used to eat garbage. I didn't care. I'd go to a local corner deli and get a fucking $5 turkey sandwich. Now I'm having $200 meals because my taste changed.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah, for sure.
So I just don't think it's fair to take that stance because you don't know, you know, and that's just, and even now, like the shows that we do, the ridiculous ones, which I try to only do, like maybe we do 2 shows a week, you know, every week. So it's 8 shows a month.
Yep.
Maybe one show or 2 shows are like crazy shows. The rest are interviews. And even now I feel like, this is a little ridiculous, but it makes Jay's 10 years younger than me or 8 years younger than me. It makes him very happy. And they are our most listened to episodes.
Yeah.
By far. The episode that I did cocaine on is one of our most listened to episodes. You know, I've never tried coke. It's funny to do it on a show. That show did extremely well. You know, I am dreading doing the next drug, you know, because I never did any drugs. And once a year I try a drug on the show, you know, but now when we started the show, I was 8 years younger. I don't necessarily want to do it right now.
Well, you know, doing shit you don't want to do builds character.
Yeah, it does. And after all the fucked up things you've done, you've never done cocaine?
I never did anything. I've never done anything. I smoked pot maybe 3 times in my life, and then that was it. So then when we started the show called Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, and there is no drugs really, other than Jay smokes weed all the time, and we drink, which is not, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
It got a lot of fans started to bitch, where the fuck is the drug? So once a year, we try a drug on the show. So we did edibles, mushrooms, coke. We thought it was Molly. It was some sort of crystal meth thing by accident.
Oh, that's
horrible.
the worst. Yeah.
Then we got Molly, and then we did coke. And I think the next one, we're doing Whippets with TJ Miller, the singer of Hollywood Undead and Jelly Roll and one other dude. They're all coming in. We're all going to do Whippets together.
That's crazy. You should, if you ever want to put DMT on, you can come down here and we'll smoke DMT with you.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny. Jay tried DMT, and because he's on like Lexapro or something, I don't know.
Oh, yeah. If you're on an SSRI, it doesn't really work.
Yeah. So he didn't get anything, so there's no reason to do it, you know, and so the next one is going to be Whippets. That's the plan right now.
Okay.
What about acid? How far down this rabbit hole?
how
do you
far
go?
Well, the
down are you
problem
going?
with all those is that all the drugs I hate about drugs, which is the reason why most people love drugs, is they last too fucking long. If you told me it was 5 minutes, I'm in it. But if it's 8 hours, 9 hours, it's like, God damn it. I don't want to do anything for
Well,
8 hours.
DMT's like that. It's only going to last 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah,
So-
but Jay gets no reaction to that. So it's like,
Right.
there's no point, you know? So,
Well, he could just switch it out, start smoking DMT every day instead of taking that pill.
that's a good idea.
I'm not a doctor,
No.
but I could be.
So just to recap, you're pro-rape, you're pro-necrophilia, you're pro-DMT.
I
want to make sure.
I'm just libertarian on those issues, right? Like it's none of my business.
Fair enough.
And I think that's how we should end this show today, Ralph. Just as the disgusting human beings we are. Tell everybody where they can find you and how to listen to your shows.
Sure. Follow me everywhere at I am Ralph Sutton. That's the easiest way to find me. The SDR show comes out every Monday and Thursday, everywhere that you consume a podcast. My other show, which is on health and wellness, which I didn't make a great voice for that on this episode, is called Good Sugar. That comes out every Monday. But everything is at gasdigitalnetwork.com as well, where we have 22 shows. The newer shows, as I said, is Zach Wilds, Aaron Bergs, and Yo MMA Raps with Lewis and Dave. But there's 22 great shows on the network. Michael Bisping's on the network, Legion of Skanks, and a bunch of other great shows as well.
Yeah, man. Congratulations on all your success. It's amazing. And especially you're giving voices to people that are typically canceled.
I
So
mean,
that's
you say
nice.
you say I'm successful. I'm not putting out fucking coffee and beer, so you guys seem to be doing pretty well yourself.
We're doing all right. We're doing all right. It's the pain in the ass of it though, behind the scenes, where you're just like, great. After this, there's going to be a fucking lawyer calling about something. You know,
Yeah.
you know from running a media company, like there's always something.
The amount of times people have asked me to cancel me because they don't know that I'm the owner of the network, so they just send an email and they get pissed off that they should cancel me or cancel Lewis. I'm like, all right, I guess I could cancel myself, but that would be weird.
Do you write them back and say, you're asking me to cancel myself because I own this
No,
network?
I just, I usually we have like a boilerplate response that we're just, everyone here has their own voice. We don't tell people what to do,
Right.
So you don't pop up from behind the counter and be like, I am the manager.
yeah. I was like, let me go get the manager. I'll be right back. Oh.
People used to do that to Jared. Like he would do or say something fucked up either on the show or just in his personal life. And people would call the customer service line for Black Rifle Coffee.
Yeah, and complain.
Like, hey, you got to get rid of this guy.
Yeah, he's
like,
a fucking asshole. He's like, well, I'm the owner of the company.
Owns the goddamn company. So Jared would start going down into the customer service lounge and answering the calls.
Oh, yeah.
Like if he would have them put him on hold and he would just go down there and talk to him and fucking light him up.
That was the best.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Well, the first 5 years of Gas Digital, I was doing all of that. I answered every fucking email that came in. I was the guy that was doing everything. I helped build the fucking website. It was terrible. So now that we have the ability to bring people in to do all that shit, I just want to stay as far away as possible.
Agreed.
And nobody understands that. Everybody's like, oh, man, it must be fun to be a CEO, own your own business. It's like, no, the power is what is nice because you can do whatever you want, right? But then all the bullshit afterwards, it's like, dude, all Dan and I want to do is hire a fucking CEO to run this bitch so we don't have to do any of the back end shit.
I would love to be at the point where all I do is my show. Show up, do the show, and leave, and I would love it, but there's no fucking way.
100%. That is the dream, right? Where you can just do the shows and not have to deal with any of it. That'd be the dream. Thank you for being here, Ralph. You're fucking awesome, dude. And again, congrats on all your success. For D'Anthony Holloway, Ralph Sutton, I'm Ross Patterson. This is the Drinkin' Bros podcast. Good night, everyone.